Welcome to the Real Estate Show. From buying to selling and everything in between. Rochester's home for everything real estate. And now, your hosts from the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. It's Anthony Butera and Jason Mancuso.
Welcome to the Real Estate Show. Got Jason and Steve here. Special guest Steve.
Special guest today, Steve Pennsylvania, all-star of the Anthony Butera team. He really does it all. Listing agent, buyer's agent in the suburbs, does a lot of work in the city with investment-type properties. Today the topic is flips, and brought Steve in here to talk about that. He's really our resident expert on that. He does some for himself. He works with a bunch of clients that do it, that he represents on the acquisition side and on the flip side to resell. So I think it's a topic that I don't know. I feel like everybody has that itch that they want to scratch. Let me flip this home, right?
Everybody wants to flip a house,
right? And it's you can get into big trouble with it as far as if you're not calculated and experienced. I mean, not necessarily experienced because you got to start somewhere, but if you're just running around and I could get this and
first thing you need to do is gotta get your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. Yeah, get an HGTV show.
He's Chip, I'm
right?
He's Chip, I'm Joanne for
sure. And that's how you start it, right? Mm-hmm. The whole process.
Well, and that's where this topic has gained steam over the last few years, right? Everybody's on TV doing this, and everybody thinks, I could do this, no problem.
Right. Without looking into all the specifics and the logistics of it, and what it's going to take to actually flip a house and be profitable. Yeah. And just as importantly, help people in the process.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. I mean, it's like, this is, if you're actually doing it and in it and the one who's doing the work and whatnot, I mean, it's a business for you. You want to be profitable. But at the end of the day, I think you have to kind of, I don't know, at least guys like us like to think that we need to sleep at night and knowing that we're selling somebody, a quality product on the back end of it, that they're not going to have problems down the road. And most times this is, a family who's going to be living there, and you don't want to leave them with something where you pocketed a bunch of money and then their roof caves in 3 years later.
Yeah, you're not going to be successful in the long run going that route.
Yeah, exactly. So. You'll get sniffed out of the industry pretty quickly because people. Sure. I don't know. I can walk into a house. If I'm with a buyer, right, I can walk into a house pretty much within 10 seconds. We know ahead of time as agents if it's a flip or not, or if somebody's owner occupant lived in there for a while. I can walk in right away and be like, I'll tell people this is a half-ass job, or hey, this is pretty quality work. And then we start, sniffing around.
What are the signs of a half-ass job?
Well, I'm not a handy guy. I've said it on the show before. I can't hang a picture on the wall. So it's like if you can tell if I'm in there doing trim work and painting, and it's just there's a difference in quality between professional versus the part-timer who's there at burning the midnight oil during the week and not really doing a great job at it. But I mean, it's easily one of the things. Here's an example: half-ass, right? Everybody calls it Mr. Seconds.
Sure.
That's the name of the store, right?
Yeah.
So whatever, these discount type supply stores, their granite for countertops and whatnot is quarter of an inch.
Yeah, it's really thin. It's
really thin
cheap.
Granite compared to I don't know, like half an inch, 3/4 inch regular granite.
Sure.
That would be more professional grade. So you walk in right away and you see that, and you're like, all right. Corner cut, right? They went the cheap route versus just paying a little more to have that much more of a quality product. So you're able to kind of have your radar up and know what's done right, what's not.
Yeah, and what guys are really doing this as a business,
right? Rather
than a hobby, rather than a job. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach flipping houses. It's just like anything else. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can be successful in real estate. And even in this category of real estate, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach it. Yeah. Depending on how you're getting deals, how many deals you're getting, what kind of deals you're getting. Is there even, is it in the budget to really make it a solid house and really do something good?
And that speaks to just the problem with the whole game in general, or part of it anyway, is that a lot of people get into this for the first time and they don't realize what they need to budget for or what they need to do to make it a successful venture. They're halfway through the project realizing they're screwed, and then they just slap it together and try to get what they can out of it, and they
don't have a choice.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's you can't hold on to something forever unless you're going to end up living there. So they ends up being a half-assed job and put on the market that way, and that's where problems occur. So, it's easy enough to talk about, like, the contracting side of it, the materials, the work done. Obviously that's a huge part of this and a key to life in this industry. I mean, Steve, talk about some of the stuff that, like, people overlook, like your carrying costs and whatnot. I mean, give us a crash course on that, how you would look at something or how, your clients do.
Sure. Carrying costs, a lot of times referred to as quiet costs.
Sure.
Something that not a lot of people are thinking about. So, yeah. I mean, how many times have you walked into a property with a buyer, and they feel as if they're very savvy because they saw on Zillow, oh, well, this guy only paid $50,000 for it, and he's charging $100,000.
Yeah.
So this guy's going to make $50,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's just not accurate. Right. Exactly.
Well, that just speaks to where we're at, because everybody thinks that's a game. Oh, I can get this property for $50,000, sell it for $100,000. I'm rich.
Right. Yeah, it's far from the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really have to dive into the numbers and analyze the deal and figure out what you're actually getting into. So, and it's not just the construction. So if you buy a house for $50,000, put $20,000 into it, you're not making $30,000.
Right.
There's costs when you purchase the property. There's costs when you sell the property. And there's carrying costs. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to have power on in the property. You have to have water on. You have to carry insurance. What am I missing here? Taxes. Taxes is a big one, especially in Monroe County, New York
What do you
State.
think? Let's do this. What do you think if you have a successful project on your end, from the date you close to acquire it, from the date you close to sell it? What's a good timeline as far as, like, everything going smooth and just average as far as, like, how long you're going to be holding that?
Yeah, sure. I run the numbers on 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you can do it faster, but the problem is...
But that's a good base. That's a good rule of thumb.
I think so.
Could be plus or minus that.
Could be plus or minus.
All right, so 6 months. Let's use that. So, let's just, wherever the property is. I mean, now you got a year's worth of taxes. So you could be looking a couple thousand there. Mm-hmm. I mean, your utility bills while they're on, everything's off. Nobody's living there. It'll still be low, but I mean, you're still going to be looking. It'll add up to maybe $300-400.
Sure,
something like that.
Yeah. Water.
What else?
You got water, and then you have.
Let's talk private lending if you're going that route.
Oh, well, that's a big one.
Right.
So now you need to get a hard money lender.
Yeah.
I mean, that money's expensive.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they don't just have hundreds and thousands of dollars laying around, right? Mm-hmm. So what private money, hard money is commonly referred to, is essentially a loan from somebody who's not a typical bank, Chase, Citizens, Bank of America, whatever it is. So there's literally just people that lend their money out to people that are doing certain real estate projects, and they call it hard money, private money. Now, your typical mortgage rate or interest rate for a normal real estate transaction, hovering around 5% right now. The investment deals for your traditional institutions are about a point higher, so maybe 6%. I mean, these guys can get 10, 12, 18% interest. Now, it's a short-term loan. That's why they do that. They know their money's only going to be out there for hopefully 6 months. Right. But that interest on 6 months adds up to, can be a few thousand there too, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. And then, these guys are charging points,
right?
Right off the bat too, right? To get into it. And if you're newer in the business and you don't have relationships with these hard money lenders,
right?
I mean, it's risky for them. So, you don't have a track record.
Yeah.
So they're going to charge you,
Yeah. So
a couple points at least.
Points would be, the concept is, like, say I'm a hard money lender, I give you $100,000 up front. If it's 2 points, you owe me $2,000 right away. So there's another couple thousand. Mm-hmm. Just in these quiet costs, as you referred to them, Steve, we just laid out between taxes, hard money, utilities, insurance we didn't talk about. I mean, I don't know, $400 or $500 for a year. So there's another couple $100 for half a year. I mean, we just talked about $5,000.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about closing costs when you purchase the property.
Yep.
Closing costs when you sell the property.
So tack on
commissions.
Yep. Tack on $1,500, $2,000 for the purchase, right?
Yeah, purchase. I mean, you're recording the deed. You're paying for title insurance. You're going to want title insurance to protect yourself. You have to pay for an attorney to close the deal.
Yeah.
Then when you go to sell, you have to pay for the attorney again.
Real estate commission.
Real estate commission, 6%.
Yep. So commission aside, I mean, you've got a few thousand in closing on both transactions.
Survey, abstract the title. I mean, we're paying for all this.
So now we're getting up to inching towards, a $10,000 bill, depending on whether or not you're using hard money and stuff like that. So, I mean, this isn't to paint a picture of, hey, you're nuts if you're trying to flip, but this is just, hey, know what you're getting into. We just laid out almost $10,000 that most people aren't thinking about, and the average guy's going into a house saying, I can turn this thing around for $20,000, no problem. I'll be here swinging the hammer, or I got my crew, they'll come in, they'll turn it right around. Maybe they're only, if you don't account for this, that could be your profit right there. They're just eating up in these quiet costs, as you put it.
Yeah. And these same houses that the buyers are seeing, they pay $40,000, they pay $50,000. I mean, how many times are you walking through with a buyer, they put an offer in, and it's a strong offer, and you get the response, well, the owner really went over budget, and they really need to get more. I mean, it's every time, every time almost.
It is. Yep.
Except for the guys that are doing it and have built a business and have a nice process with it.
No, I agree. And again, this isn't to disparage everybody out there who's doing it. There's a lot of guys that are probably listening right now that are doing a great job. So this isn't to, poo on you, but it's just kind of like a warning more than anything. Make sure you know what you're getting into before you just plop down a good chunk of your savings in order to flip a house. I've seen it go wrong more times than not.
If you've got a house that you're looking to buy to flip, what are some warning signs of things that were just like you don't even want to mess with that? Or is there anything like, that's broken or that's messed up, let's not even bother?
Well, a couple things. I mean, so on the acquisition side of it, so like you're buying this house in order to turn a profit, right? I mean, obviously the condition has to be something that you're willing to take on, right? So, I mean, there's certain things. I mean, if it's me, if you have a foundation issue, I'm not touching that thing.
You're not touching it. But the guys that will are the ones that are successful. They have to know what they're doing.
Sure, exactly.
And they could even do what they refer to as a prehab. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but a prehab is somebody that can come in, take care of that foundational issue, take care of the really big things that most flippers aren't going to want to touch, and then flip it to a flipper.
Sure.
For a profit right there. I mean, there's a lot of different avenues that you can
flip
take.
it to a flipper.
Flip it to a flipper.
Why not?
That's next week's show. Well, and it's true though. There's all this world that we're talking about that most people operate in. It's a very tight inner circle in many senses, and a lot of these deals are kind of done internally. And there's kind of like finder's fees involved. Where example is say Mark, you're in a distressed position as a homeowner, right? I'm the guy who reaches out to you, say, hey, I can get you out of that. I'll give you whatever to get you out of your house. You're happy because you're no longer in this distressed position. You're walking away free and clear, hopefully. You're probably not walking away with much in your pocket, but you're out. That part of your life is over, right? So now
This all sounds fun.
Yeah, this is
great. This is good.
This is depressing. So now I essentially I don't own your house yet, but I have call it the rights to it under contract, so to speak. I'm out there, and whether I want to choose to do the project or not, or I can find somebody, next guy in line like Steve, who would finish the project, and I can say, okay, I've got Mark's house under contract. I'm buying it for $20,000. I'll sell it to you for $25,000. I'm going to keep $5,000 as my finder's fee. You buy it for $25,000. You're happy. You got a project that makes sense that you can profit off of. I'm happy. I basically did nothing other than find the property and found you. I just made $5,000 in the example. you're happy, you're out of your house, moving on.
I'm out of the distressed situation.
You're no longer distressed.
All right.
You're distressed.
Yeah.
And to debunk a myth here by saying you did nothing, a lot of listeners may say, all right, well, maybe that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
maybe I want a wholesale property.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, deals are not easy to come by.
No, exactly.
I mean, you have to work hard to get them.
Yeah, no.
So
You have to find these sad people.
Well,
they're in tough positions. Go on Craigslist,
It's, you see these signs on the side of the road, I buy houses cash, whatever.
Yeah.
That's an
That's
example. It's called wholesaling. It applies a lot with this flip conversation, though. But again, back to like just a tight inner circle. That's why a lot of the deals that are flipped, like you're not going to find them. I don't want to say most times, but I don't know. There's a good chunk where it's just like strictly off-market deals, meaning like this isn't a property that's listed by a realtor, that you're buying for pennies on the dollar, putting work into, and then flipping again through a realtor. So there's just like certain, I don't know,
I'd
back
like to touch
channels,
on
I
that.
guess.
I mean, that kind of comes back to what we first started talking about, where flippers are actually forced to cut corners because they can't afford to make it how it's not in the budget to make it how it is.
Sure.
Well, when the properties are on the market, even if it's a foreclosure, and we get these calls every day, well, we want to buy foreclosures and flip houses, and you're looking on the MLS and there's foreclosures, there's a lot of competition because everybody wants to be a house flipper. They see it on TV. This is what they want to do. So now the value of that property that's on the MLS, you've got 5, 10, 15 people bidding after it. It bumps that price up to a point where whoever gets it, they don't really have much of a choice on cutting corners. They have to.
No, that's true. I mean, the kind of like
tough.
Look at it as like the open market and just the demand out there. Everybody, kind of stock market at an all-time high concept, and everybody's looking, what else can I do with my money if you have it? And real estate's kind of the next thing that most people turn to. So let me flip a house.
Right.
And when you turn to like properties that are listed on the open market, because of that competition, leads to a little bit of inflation to where numbers can be tighter versus if that same property weren't on, the MLS or the open market, that it may be, even 10, 15, 20 grand cheaper than what you could get it for.
And if you could find one of those deals, it gives you an opportunity not only to be profitable, but to help more than just one family. I mean, you're helping a family get out of a property, and hopefully, my goal would be to have them walk away with a nice chunk of cash. I mean, if there's enough equity there and the deal makes sense, they walk away with money. They can either purchase a new house now that they don't need to do a new roof and new siding and all that. Now they're in a house that they like better, and it's just a really great transition for that family. In the meantime, now you have the budget to make the house great for the next family, and you're really helping that family out. And to top it all off, you're helping the city. I mean, you're helping our town. We're making these properties look better, and it's helping all the neighbors
taking
in the neighborhood.
your neighbor's house with a shot roof and reinventing it and giving it a curb appeal.
Your neighbors love you. Everybody. There's opportunities for everybody to be happy if the deal works.
Is there like a good price point that people should go by, or like type of house, like $100,000 house, or $130,000
Depends on the market.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. Rochester's, I don't want to say unique, but it is in a way in that, God, you can have literally $25,000 properties in the city that are habitable and turnkey.
Sure.
Okay. You can move to the suburbs where you're $100,000 as a starting point in some towns, and $250,000 as a starting point in other towns. So there's just a wide range. There's very few like $500,000 homes in this market. They're out there, and there's even fewer $1 million homes. So I would say, to answer your question, probably not going to target like the super high-end price points of, okay, I'm going to flip something with the intent of it's going to sell for $750,000 or $500,000, just because that market out there, the buying pool, people that can actually afford that in this market, it's very thin.
I was just wondering, I know this is super specific and situational, but living on the west side on Buffalo Road, there's this one McMansion that's just been sitting there for like 15 years.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it's just like dilapidated,
Yeah.
and the grass is like 4 feet high and stuff, and it's just never been touched. Never, like, I never seen anybody buy it.
I mean, somewhat off topic, but like I don't know, just out of principle for this area, this region, like if I hit did anybody win the Mega Millions?
I think somebody won. Yeah.
So
if
I were to hit that, if I were to hit
next
that
time
$500 million jackpot and money's no object now, I would still refuse to have like something, a McMansion in this market just because your taxes are 20, 30, 50 grand a year.
You got to Warren Buffett it. The dude's like a billionaire and he lives in a pretty reasonable house. You know, he's just like, what do I need all this for? Yeah.
So I mean, just out of principle, I mean, I think that I think that holds water for a lot of people. So just that concept, and like if you're trying to flip a home that's on the high end of things, well, know that your market is very slim of who you're gonna be able to find as a buyer. So if you can, with that concept in mind, if you can kind of flip the script and target, okay, where's the majority of the market looking, and target that price point. To me, a lot of the game is like just don't make any decisions that's going to shave down a portion of your marketplace.
It's a lot less predictable, and you want it to be predictable.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to know what you're getting for that property.
You want to be able to look at it and say, hey, there's 10 other properties that have sold in this time frame and in this neighborhood in a timely manner.
Not I list it for $400,000 and maybe I get $350 or maybe I get $375. It's just unpredictable,
right.
And the taxes are outrageous.
Yeah, exactly.
Costs,
so I mean, with that said, too, like one of the concepts I have, if I'm representing a client that's looking to do it or buying a property in order to flip, I'm always advising. One of the main things is like, okay, what are we looking at, and are there factors that are going to shave down the marketplace as far as lost interest? So, like a main road, for some people that just may not be doable. Not having a driveway, right? Deal breaker for a lot of people. Funky layouts here and there that you can't change. A lot of times that's ends up being a tough sell. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at a property that you're going to buy in order to flip, if you've got stuff that you can't change with the property, to me, you either got to account for it heavily and make sure that the numbers reflect it, and it's essentially more risk, right? And this is a business for you as a flipper, and what's the risk reward? So if you have a high level of risk, is it the right project to get into? So if you can't change things with the property, then you're stuck with it. That factor, now you could be screwed 6 months later, 8 months later, and hanging on to it for now a year. Now you're back to those quiet costs. Now you got another $2,000 in taxes. Another $500 in utilities because now the power's on because it's being shown and marketed, and you got to show a property that has lights and running water. Mm-hmm. So it can turn very quickly, and this can lead to a bad financial type of game. Sure.
And that kind of brings to the point of why you should be in contact with your realtor. I mean, even if you're finding the deals off market,
right,
and you're using your realtor to sell them at the top of the market where we can get retail price for the property once you're done with it, call us. I mean, call us and say, hey, I'm looking at a deal. I mean, I have clients that do it all the time. Hey, can you meet me at 2 o'clock today? I have a deal that I have to give an answer on in an hour. Mm-hmm. So can you meet me at the property? Tell me what it's worth. Is it worth me buying it?
Always rather be involved than just have them winging it, right? I mean, if you're going to be the guy in the back end that has to deal with the sale,
exactly.
I mean, even
We're
though
a team.
And in that scenario you just laid out, like as the realtor, it's an off-market deal. You're not making any money, but you're protecting your client, protecting them on the back end of it, and making sure that you have a smooth thing going when they go to sell, and everybody's happy again.
Yeah. So and can't stress it enough. Flipping is not a individual thing. This is a team sport. You have to have a team, and a realtor is very important to the team. Mm-hmm. Just as your wholesalers that are out there getting your properties, and your contractors. I mean, it's all part of the team, and as a realtor, we help you from step one to the last step, even if you're not getting the deal through us.
Right.
If you're looking to do it, let's say you want to get into flipping houses, full time and make it sustainable. How many houses do you think you'd have to do?
That's
within
your
a year?
That's your only job, career. I mean, how much money do you want to make, right? But all right, well, let's talk about it. I mean, the question is essentially how much meat is left on the bones after a flip. Like, what do most, what are your clients? What do you look for in terms of I want to make X amount of dollars or I want X percentage, rate of return? What are most people looking at?
Sure. I think it really depends on where you are in your career. If you're just starting out,
right?
And there's not an influx of deals that can make you a ton, you might have to settle for a little bit less than you might want for the first one, and the first one might just be an experience thing. I mean,
just to get your feet wet.
You're even if you don't make a lot of money, you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to help you.
Obviously, you're not looking just to break even.
We're definitely not looking to break even. No. But if you're investing, it depends.
Let's use the example of the easy number sake. You're going to sell the house at the end of the day is going to sell for $100,000.
Yeah. For all the work that goes into it, I mean, you like to be into it for 80 or so. So if you got to be 85 and make 15 on it, I mean.
So you're looking to make 15, 20 grand is a great deal.
That's on it. Well, yeah, that makes it worth it.
Okay.
That's not a home run. That's a base hit.
All your costs.
Yeah. That's a base hit.
So you've sold. Essentially, you're going to get a check at the end of the day for 15 grand.
15 to 20.
You're happy with that?
It has. Yeah, that's where it's like, okay, now it's worth the time. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and you're taking a lot of risk. So that 20 grand that you project could easily turn into 10.
Sure.
I mean, easily. So
if you're projecting 10, that can easily turn into zero. So if you're analyzing a deal at the start and you're looking at and there's about $5,000 in profit, $5,000, that's a good amount of money for most people. You're probably not doing that deal.
No, it's too risky. I mean, first of all, you're putting up a whole bunch of cash.
Right.
So it's tying you up if another deal comes up. There's always ways to get more money. When it comes down to it, the deal is the harder to get than the money. I mean, there's always money out there. But, yeah, $5,000 is not,
this guy makes like it seem money just fell off the bed.
Here. Listen, I tell you what, you get a really good deal.
Yeah.
You will find the money.
Well, and it's back to that hard money conversation, or kind of,
or a partner,
beg, borrow, steal type of thing.
Yeah. And what are you planning? What are you planning on doing? I mean, what are you bringing to the table? Are you a contractor and you're not so much a businessman? Well, then you need to find the guy with the money to partner up with. And, And if you got the deal, 50% of a deal is better than 0%
of nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah,
but generally speaking, I mean, if we're talking minimum rates of return, I mean, most guys are looking for at least that 10%.
Right.
Now it depends on price point, right? Because 10% of 200 is 20 versus 10% of 100. You're saying that 10 grand on that $100,000 example, you're not thrilled about it.
Not if that's where where the numbers are coming in before you're done. If you're done and you make 10 grand, all right, we'll just move on to the next one. You made 10 grand. That's not happy, but you're not miserable.
Well, if somebody wants to get into it, can they talk to somebody on
absolutely. We everybody knows we have a team of agents. There's a few of us here that are very much experienced. Steve is the prime example. He does it himself. He represents people, but there's a lot of us that have that experience and know how to advise. So I would start. Again, Steve mentioned it, building a team. If you're going to do this, don't be the guy who's swinging the hammer in the property at 3 o'clock in the morning because he's got to go to work and that's the only time that he can get it done. He's 6 months behind the project dates. He's over budget because he's doing it himself. You have to develop a team. Start with a realtor so that you know what your property values are and you get kind of the, whatever inside info's out there. And then, move on from there. Contractors, lenders, whatever it is, to just kind of build an A team and go about it the right way.
Cool. All right, so check out AnthonyButerraTeam.com and also you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, all that good stuff. And see you next time.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. If you're looking to sell or buy, talk to the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. Visit AnthonyButerraTeam.com.